Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here. If you are new to this channel, we build video games. So right now we are just starting off on our new series on Unity. So I hope you stick around for that. Let's get started. So in the last video I posted, I kind of introduced you guys to what Unity is and all that jazz. And then I asked you to start working on an FPS micro game and to go through the tutorials. So my original plan was to let you guys do that on your own. But then as I started going through the tutorials, I quickly realized that some of the instructions can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to go through the tutorial real quick. If you've already done it, feel free to skip this part. Or if not, you might want to follow along with me and I'll explain some of the typical areas where people might get stuck or might get a little bit confused. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So first things first, you can adjust the size of these windows. So for some reason my tutorial was really squished. I'm going to bring it out a little bit so it's easier to read. All of these windows can be adjusted, their size, by the way. All right, so let's get started here. First thing I want to do is to go ahead and start, and then we go into play mode. And I am going to mute that so it doesn't play those noises in the future as we test the game out. But there we have it, our simple setup. It is a playable game, but of course we're going to be customizing it in multiple different ways. So let's continue going with this. So the first thing they want us to do is to select the player object, and it explains all this here. You guys can read that yourself. I'm not going to read all this text. But essentially, over here on the left-hand side, you have your hierarchy. Everything that's in the scene, and this is what we call a scene, right? The scene is basically the level. Everything that's inside the scene has an object in the hierarchy. We call these game objects. So what they want us to do is they want us to change the player stats. So we're going to select the player game object. So we're clicking on the player in the hierarchy. And then the stat that they want us to change is gravity downforce. So basically, how fast does he fall? I didn't really test the jumping, but right now, gravity force down is set to 20. They want us to set it to 12, which will give him a little bit of a better jump because gravity is not quite as strong on him, I guess. All right, so we're knocking that out. Like I said, I'm going to go through this tutorial pretty quick. Okay, so now they want us to test it and to test the jumping. So I'm going to go ahead and go into play. And it should be muted now so I can talk over this. There we go. And with the jumping, it does look like it is working. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so now we're going to start tutorial 2, add a room. So this one, for my students, they do often run into problems on this one. So we're going to go ahead and hit start. You can adjust your view so that it's easier to see what you're creating. The view tool lets you navigate the scene view. So this little hand here, I call this the pan tool because it lets you pan across the screen a little bit. All right. So yep, we just did what they asked us to do. They wanted us to pan around the screen. There we go. So we can see more parts of the map. All right, so now they're going to teach us some of the tricks. So if we hold down the Alt button, or Option if you're using a Mac computer, if you hold down Alt and then do the drag, it rotates you. So it's rotating basically 360 degrees around a point, and that's pretty helpful. There are other shortcuts, which we'll go into in a few moments. Then there's a zoom in, zoom out, which you can do by holding down that same button and right mouse button. I don't really love that. If your mouse has a wheel, that works good. If you're using a touchpad, you can do it with your 2 fingers. So 2 fingers zoom in and zoom out, right? Just like you're scrolling on a website page, same buttons. So you can do a quick zoom in and zoom out, which is pretty easy to do. All right, so here's the part where my students often get stuck. They want us to go find the prefab called room_alter. Okay, so the instructions here aren't great at telling us where it is. So down here in the bottom is our project section, our project tab. Everything that we have access to is down here. So this stuff isn't necessarily in our game. Some of it is, but there's probably stuff down here that's not in our game, right? But everything we have access to is down here. And there are folders, so I could try digging around in here. If I go to the prefab folder, well, there's more folders, and I would have to figure out which one of these folders is that going to be in. Maybe level? Okay, well, there's even more folders there. You can tell it's getting kind of hard for me to find what I'm looking for. Rooms. There we go. Room underscore alter. So it took me a few steps. Now, of course, I've done this a few times, so I probably figured it out quicker than most people would. Let me show you the alternate, faster way to look for a prefab. In the project tab, you've got some of these that say all. So you have all materials, all models, all prefabs. Whenever I'm looking for a prefab, I always go to the all prefab section. It's just so much easier than trying to figure out what file it's in. So in the all prefab section, you have access to all of the prefabs. And since in this situation, we already know the name, room underscore alter, we just need to find the prefab that has that name. And you'll notice it is in alphabetical order, so that also makes it easier. So I just have to scroll down until I get to the R's. Here we go. And there's room underscore alter right there. Okay, so to put it into our scene, here's the important part. A lot of my students make this mistake. Do not double click on it. Double clicking is not what you're supposed to do. You got to click once and hold it, and then drag and drop. So you click, drag, drop. If you double click, it takes you to like a different scene and it kind of messes you up. So just drag and drop. Okay, so I dropped it into my scene. It doesn't matter exactly where I put it because the next step has us moving it with the move tool. So with the move tool selected, they want me to put it somewhere, decide where it's going to go. So these arrows, I'm going to use the Alt button combo that we learned about a few minutes ago to get a better view of this. And actually, now might be a good time to teach you guys some other tricks. In addition to that trick, there's another one I'd love to use. If you click and hold the right mouse button, you can use WASD to fly around your map. So W goes forward, S goes back, A goes left, and D goes right. You can also use Q and E to go up and down. So what I want to do is I've decided for my game, I want to line up this altar with that little doorway right there. So I'm going to now drag the blue arrow to try to get it lined up pretty close, and I'm going to change my angle to see how it's looking. Okay, that doesn't look bad. I'm holding down the Alt button and just checking from different angles right now. Yeah, that actually doesn't look bad at all. I might just leave it that way. All right, cool. And I can zoom out. Another fun trick you can use if you want to quickly zoom in on something is you can have it selected. So right now the room alter is selected. If you keep your mouse over the scene view and press the F key on your keyboard, it zooms in on it. We call this the focus tool, or sometimes I'll call it the find tool, but basically it just focuses in on whatever object you have selected. So that's a helpful one as well. Okay, so I've got the alter where I want it, the room alter, I should say, where I want it. So let's move on to the next page. So they want us to change the nav mesh. Okay, so this part's important. Notice all the blue in the scene. You see all that light blue? That is what we call the nav mesh. Basically, this game has robots in it, right? Those robots operate with an AI, and they can only walk in places that have the nav mesh. Without the nav mesh, they won't work correctly. So if you look at this alter I put there, those 3 steps are not highlighted light blue like the other ones are, which means if I put a robot on any of those steps, they're going to fall right through the floor. They're not going to be able to walk on those steps, and it's going to cause a bug in my game. So I need to update the nav mesh so that robots can walk on those steps. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So they want me to select the nav mesh surface, and then they want me to press the bake button. So I bake it, and now look, we've got the highlighted blue stuff there. So now our AI, our robots, can use those steps. So that's going to help our game out. We won't have the bug of them falling through the floor. All right, we'll move on to tutorial 3. I will save my work. Always save your work. All right, here we go. So now they want us to mess around with materials. So just like before, they want us to find a material called floor underscore gray. And they said it's in the project window in the art folder. But once again, there's a lot of folders here. It might be a little bit hard to find. So if I go to the art folder, there's lots of other folders. They didn't tell us which one. So maybe the material folder, that would make sense. But there's even more folders here. So once again, trying to find this is going to be a real pain in the butt. So the easiest way to do it would be to scroll up here to the all materials. I don't know why they don't say this in the tutorial, because this is so much easier. You go to all materials, and now we just need to find the one that has that name, floor_gray. So let's find it. There it is, floor_gray. Oh, it looks like there's two of them. Let's check. This one, if I hover my mouse over it, it says floor_gray transparent. And this one just says floor_gray. So it looks like this is the one they actually want. So if I click on that, now they want us to make changes to it. They want us to change the base map color. So right now, the base map color is that gray color. We're going to change it. So here comes another common mistake that my students make. A lot of my students will accidentally click on this eyedropper. If you click on the eyedropper, that is for color matching. So if I wanted to match a color that already existed in my world, that's what the eyedropper is for. But that's not what the instructions actually ask us to do. They want us to use the color wheel. So if you accidentally click on the wrong thing like I just did, the best way to get out of that is to just to click the escape button on your keyboard. There we go, and now I'm back to normal. So I'm going to click on the gray color here, and it's going to open up the color wheel, and let's pick a new color. I don't think the instructions told us what color to pick, so I can pick my own. So I can decide what I want my floor to look like. Maybe I want to go with some purple. Purple's one of my favorite colors. So I'll just do that for now. I can always change it later. And now what you'll notice is that everywhere on the floor tiles where it was that shade of gray, it is now this new shade of purple that I just made. All right. And of course, there are other edits you can do here too, which we will eventually cover, but we're just doing the tutorial right now. All right, next steps. They want us to go to the next tutorial. We're going to add an enemy. All right, let's do it. So select start to begin. All right, they want us to select the enemy hoverbot and drag it into the scene view. So just like before, we got to find it, right? So since it is a prefab, and like the instructions say, it is a prefab, I'm just going to go to all prefabs and I'm going to find it this way. So I'm looking for enemy_hoverbot. Enemy_hoverbot. Here we go. So we have the hoverbot there. We have the turret there. So I'm going to grab the hoverbot and they want me to drag it into the scene. So I can decide where I want it to go. I already have one hoverbot in the main room. Maybe this one I'm going to put in the altar room, I think. So I'm going to drag him. I'm going to put him in there. All right, select the move tool. Okay, so they want me to play around with them. Let's zoom in. So I'm going to use the F key to zoom in on him. There we go. And now I can zoom out a little bit and I can get a better view with the Alt, holding down Alt and dragging the camera around. So I can decide exactly where I want to put him. I think I'm going to put him right here at the top of the stairs. All right. Next. Oh, actually go back to previous. They also mentioned here the rotate and or scale tools could be used. So we just use the move. This is the rotate button. So if I needed to change the way he was facing, I could do that. I'm not really sure which way he's facing right now. It's a little hard to tell with all that stuff around him. He might be facing the correct way. It's hard to tell. Scale is fun. Scale allows you to make things bigger or smaller. Maybe this is a large bot. Oh, look at that. I want you to notice I grabbed the inside. Let me show you that again. So I could grab the green, blue, or red. If I do that, it's only going to change the scale in one direction. But if I grab the square in the middle, it changes all three, right? So it's increasing in size in all three directions, which keeps it, to scale. All right, I'll keep it that size. I like that size. All right. And yeah, we'll keep them right there. Okay, moving on to the next page. They want us to import assets. All right. We will save. Okay, so importing assets. Basically, you can download things from the internet. Click on the link below to find the free food props. All right, let's check it out. Okay, so this is the asset that they wanted us to download, And you can just download it by clicking Add to My Assets, and then it should have a pop-up that allows you to open directly in Unity. If it does not open up itself in Unity, you can find it a long way. So the long way to find it, I already have it opened because I already did it, but the long way to find it is to go to Window and then Package Manager. And from here, you can go to Packages and choose My Assets. Any assets that you've ever downloaded will appear in the My Assets section. And then you can do a search for it. So here I did a search for food in the My Assets section, and it took me to this asset, which I was able to download because I have done this before. So I didn't have to download it from the store. I just re-downloaded it or imported it into the program. So yeah, you can do it directly from the website, or you can do it through Window and Package Manager, My Assets. Okay, so once you've downloaded it, what do they want us to do next here? Let's see. We did all that. I already imported it, so I did that. Select the Assets folder and search for food. We already did. Oh, wait. Oh, over here. Okay, so they want us to find it over here. So in the Assets tab, let's do a search for food. There it is, MG3D food. So I'm going to open that up, and they want me to select and drag the assets into the scene. So they want me. So which asset should I put in my game? Let's put a burger in here. Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger in paradise. There we go. All right, so we got a burger in the scene. Why? I don't know. This tutorial I feel like is lacking a little bit. They told us to put a cheeseburger in there, but they didn't tell us why. That seems odd to me. But you know what? We'll talk more about that in a few moments, and I'll give you an actual good thing that we can do with the burger instead of just having one for no reason. All right, so now we're in the build and publish phase. Of course, it is a little early to be publishing, considering our game is not done. So I'm just going to hit done, and I'm going to skip that step, because really publishing is something you'd want to do once you finish your game. Okay, so let's make this game better. So right now I've got a game with a new colored floor, a new robot in the other room, and a burger that doesn't have a purpose. Let's play it. Here we go. I like the new floors. They look more bluish than purple, though, but I guess that's probably because of the lighting. There's my first robot, the regular one. And then there's my hamburger that has no purpose. Got a health over here. I don't need it because my health is full right now. Let's check out the new robot I put in here. Oh, there he is. Okay, so he is facing the wrong way. Oh, but he sees me. Still pretty easy to kill, even though he's giant. So I might want to tweak that. All right, and then, of course, I've got the turret guy down there, which I haven't adjusted. He's still the same way that I left him. So let's now talk about ways to make our game even better. By the way, if you're in the middle of playing the game and you're not sure how to leave it, just press the escape button on your keyboard, and that brings your mouse out so that you can get out of play mode. Okay, so first things first, before we start editing anything, let me make one very important note for you guys. Watch out for this play mode. If you are in play mode, if that button is highlighted, any changes that you make while this button is highlighted do not get saved. So if I go over here and I start editing stuff in my game and I start putting stuff in my game and I start making all these changes, it's not going to get saved because play mode is currently playing. With that said, sometimes it's okay to make changes while you're in play mode if you just want to test something. You just need to understand that it's not going to save, right? So if you're making changes that you want to save, you need to make sure you are not in play mode, that button is not highlighted. Okay, so before I start making all these changes to my game, I'm going to get rid of this tutorial window because it is kind of in my way. I don't like it taking up a lot of space. In the top right corner here where it says layout, there are some pre-made layouts, and you can also design your own. So I'm just going to go to the default layout, though. I actually really like the default layout. It gives me a nice big window, easy to see everything. So I can go from here. In the hierarchy, all my stuff disappeared. Oh no! Good thing I have this little plus sign right here. If I click on this little, I'm sorry, not plus sign. Why did I say plus sign? This play symbol, right? If I click on that, it opens up all the stuff underneath of it. That little triangle opens up all the things that we're hiding. So when it looks like all your stuff disappeared, it didn't. It's just hiding. Okay, so where to begin with my edits? You know what? Let's go ahead and just edit that robot that I made. So I'm going to go find him. I think he was in this room. Let me zoom out. Now, remember what we talked about with the focus tool? If you ever have a hard time finding something in your game, you kind of got lost, you don't know where it went, if you can find it in the hierarchy over here, and this one's actually this guy right here, boom, I can put my mouse over the screen, I can press F, and it will zoom me in on him. So there he is. All right, so let's make some changes to him. First thing I want to do is I'm going to rotate him around because he was facing the wrong direction. So let's fix that really quick. I have 3 circles here, the red, the blue, and the green. These are my 3 directions. They coincide with X, Y, and Z. Over here, you've got X, Y, and Z. You can kind of see the different axes. So those 3 circles represent X, Y, and Z. So I want to change his Y direction, his green direction. So I can rotate it this way, or I could actually just type it in the inspector window. This right-hand side of the screen is what we call the inspector window. The inspector window is all the stats for the character. So when it comes to rotating, I could physically rotate it like I am right now, or I could type it in to the rotation bubble. So right here, the Y, let's just make it a good old negative 180. And he should be facing the opposite direction of what he was facing a second ago. So that would make him face the player. All right, so let's look at the other stats for this robot. We've got a bunch of parameters here. Path reaching, orientation speed. Some of these things I know what they do, and some of them I don't, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. There's a lot of stuff here. What's this one? Delay after weapon swap. He doesn't have swapped weapons, does he? Swap to next weapon. Can I give him multiple weapons? Oof, okay. I might need to look at that later. All right, let's see here. We got some special effects. We got some sound effects. We got so much stuff here. So here's his loot. Remember how when I killed him, he dropped health? So if I wanted him to drop something else, I could put that in there. Do we have any other options? Let's go to the prefabs. And I'm going to do a search with the prefabs. I'm going to do a search for loot. Okay, so we have loot health and we have loot jetpack. Let's make this guy drop a jetpack instead of health. I like that idea. So I'm going to put the jetpack. So loot jetpack I'm placing instead of loot health. So that could be fun. All right, let's look at the other stuff here. So we've got some animations, a lot of stuff here we probably don't want to mess with, especially being new to Unity. You got to be real careful. If you start editing too much stuff, you could accidentally end up breaking your game if you edit something and you don't know what it does, right? Okay, so here comes a good one, health. Right now he has a max health of 100. What if I give him a max health of 1,000? That might make him harder to kill, right? Let's see what else we got here. A lot of this stuff, I don't really know what it does, so I probably don't want to change it. Speed. Do I want him to move faster? Ooh, that could make it challenging. Let's do it a little faster. I don't want to do it too fast. I'll do 5 instead of 3.5. I don't want to change the acceleration. I'll leave the rest of it the same. Okay. Let's try fighting him now. So if I did this correctly, he should have 10 times as much health as he had before and should be a little bit faster. And then he'll also drop. Yep, he's definitely stronger. I like it. Although he's not chasing me as much as I thought he would. Looks like I have to get pretty close to him before he shoots me. But there's the jetpack. And of course, I could try editing some of that stuff some more. So now that I have the jetpack, if you weren't familiar with the jetpack, it works off the same way as the jump. So spacebar jumps, but if you press and hold spacebar, you fly, but only after you get the jetpack does that work. And you do have a limited amount of time you can use it. All right, so not bad. I could edit him some more, but I'm going to leave the editing of the enemies up to you. So I do want to mention something, though. So I clicked on this guy the hoverbot, and I made these edits here. So all these edits that I made, I only edited a couple things, but the edits that I made only affected this hoverbot. Does that make sense? It only affected this one guy. What if I wanted to affect all hoverbots? So right now I have one other hoverbot in my game. He's over here. So what if I wanted to make more of them and I wanted to change their stats? So let's put a few more hoverbots in here. I'm going to go to all prefabs and I'm just going to do a search for hover. There we go. Enemy hoverbot. So let's put a few more of these guys in here. Here, I'll put one on that little corner right there. There we go. So let's say I put these enemies around the game, and then I decide, you know what, I want to change their stats. So instead of clicking on each one and changing each one's stats, which would take a while, I can click on the prefab that they're all based on, and I can change the prefab's stats. So I can go in here to the prefab, and which stat do I want to change? Let's change his health. Instead of 100, let's make it 200. So still not as healthy as the big one, but stronger than he was. So let's go ahead and try that now. So I changed the prefab, which means it should affect all of them. Now here's the fun thing. Did it affect the giant guy I had over there? Well, let's check him out. If I click on him, his health is still 1,000. So how come he wasn't affected when I changed the prefab? It's because I already made personal changes to him. So if you personally change one of these robots, and then you go and change the prefab, it's not going to affect that robot or that part of that robot. I could affect other things. So for instance, I didn't do anything to their color, right? They all have the same color. So if I was to change the prefab's color, it would affect all of them. Is there a material in here that I could change? Body material right here. Okay. So right now he's using this material. If I was to decide to give him a different material, let's make them lollipop colored. It should affect all of them. Did it? It looks like it didn't do anything. Let's try it. Oh, I think the lollipop color is the color they turn when I hit them. Maybe not. Ah, I'm going to die. Okay. Ah. They're definitely healthier than they were before with that 200 health. Definitely makes it more challenging. Yeah, I'm not sure what the color did. It's hard to tell. It was inside of the area that said flash on hit. So it seems like it only flashed that color. I don't think it was a permanent color change. But that's okay. So my point being that if you edit something about one of the robots, it will only affect that robot. If you want to affect all of them, you have to do a change to the prefab itself. All right, so let's look at some other stuff now. I wanted to use the hamburger in a more in a way that made a little bit more sense. So most of these smaller bots, they drop loot health, right? I want to change the loot health. Instead of looking like a plus sign, I want to make it look like the burger. So I'm just going to do a search inside the all prefab section. We're going to do a search for loot health. And there it is. And I'm going to click on that, and now I can make changes to loot health. Let's double click on it. If I double click on it, it takes me to the main thing here. So here is loot health and all the stuff that makes it up. So here's all the pieces to it. We've got everything here. We got a little twinkle effect on here. We've got a mesh on here. We've got all sorts of fun stuff on here. So what I'm going to do is I want to add my hamburger to this, or possibly change it. Let's see. That's the special effect. That's the sound. It has rigid body. It has a collider. I don't see the shape, so I guess it must be probably this. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deactivate the mesh. So the plus sign, I have the mesh selected. Over here where I have the checkbox, I'm going to uncheck it. And you see how it just disappeared like that? Basically, I turned it off. And instead of having that there, I'm going to put the burger there. So over here in my assets, I'm going to go to find the burger, the food, which I think was in mod assets. No. All right, let's just do a search for food again. There we go. And I'm going to put my hamburger, and I could either drop it here or I could drop it in here, right? So I basically want to put it where that mesh health was. So I'm going to drop it in here, and there it is. Now, of course, it looks like it needs to be rotated because it's kind of laying in a funny angle. So let's go ahead and rotate that. I'll rotate it in the red direction. And it looks like it's going to be about 90 from the judging it here. There we go. So now instead of dropping that plus sign, it's going to drop a hamburger, a cheeseburger, actually. All right, to get back to the scene and to save this change, I'm going to click on the arrow to the left of loot health. It's going to ask me, do I want to save it? Absolutely, I do. And now when I play, and I should destroy the small robots, I'm going to have a hamburger instead of the plus sign that we typically see with health drops. Let's see if it works. There's my cheeseburger. Look at how amazing that looks. Yeah, and it gave me health. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, so we've talked about ways to edit the enemies. We've talked about ways to edit the health pickups. So basically, in short, what I want you to understand is that all of these prefabs that are pre-made objects, you can edit any of them. You really, really can. Now, how you edit them is going to be up to you in different ways, right? So for things like the turrets and the hoverbots, you got to be careful. You're mainly going to be worried about their stats, probably, right? But you could edit them in other ways. You can edit the walls if you want to change the way they look. You can edit all sorts of stuff. And now there are other things, though. Oh, look at this. Pickups. Let's talk about pickups. So we looked at the two loot items, which were the health and the jetpack. But there are also, in the prefab section, pickup items, which are mainly weapons. So there's a shotgun, and there's another gun there. So pickup items are a little bit different than loot. Basically, instead of dropping it, you just need to find it and pick it up, right? So let's put some pickup items around our map. Where should we put them? How about, let's put a shotgun over here. Now, of course, this is the game that I'm making. You guys can make yours however you want to, right? Please do not feel like you have to copy what I'm doing. So I put my shotgun over there, and I will have to defeat some robots to get it. So let's go check out that pickup shotgun that I just dropped over there. I love the cheeseburgers. All right, so the shotgun, there it is. So I'm going to go pick it up. And now I have two weapons. To switch weapons, I have to press the number 2 on my keyboard. And now I'm using the shotgun. Not as powerful as I would like, but I can edit it because I can edit everything. I am the programmer after all. Yeah, I don't like the shotgun for this guy. He's got a lot of health. All right, let's go ahead and get out of the game. So Let's talk about changing weapons. So pickup shotgun is literally just something that picks up the shotgun weapon. If you look at the stats, there's no weapon stats on here, okay? Because this is not the weapon prefab, this is the pickup prefab. If I want to change the shotgun stats, I got to go into prefabs, and I just have to do a search for a shotgun, right? Or just go find it. It'll be down here when the S is. Ooh, there's pyramids in here. Cool. I didn't know there were pyramids in there. All right, where's the shotgun at? Why don't I see it? All right, maybe I do have to do a search for it. Shotgun. Pickup shotgun. But I don't see the actual shotgun stats. Oh, weapon shotgun. That's it right there. Okay, so here we go. Weapon shotgun, and here are the stats for it. So I can customize how the weapon works. Here, let's double click on it so I can see it up close. So I've got delay between shots. I've got bullet spread. I have bullets per shot. The amount of recoil. So much stuff here I can change. The size of the clip. So much stuff here. Max ammo. So right now it basically does 2 shots before reloading. So much stuff. And there's a lot of other weapons. That's just a shotgun, right? So I could customize the pistol if I wanted to, just by doing a... Here, let's just do a search for weapon. There we go. So I've got the blaster shot, which is the pistol you start off with. I have this one, which is the launcher. I haven't shown you guys. This is another weapon. In order to use it, remember, you have to use the pickup launcher and put that in your game. But this is the launcher weapon and how you can customize its stats. And the shotgun. So a lot of things here I could adjust and customize for my weapons and for my enemies. So much customization options. So many customization options. Okay, I feel like this video is going a little bit long, so I'm going to stop it, but I will come back to talk about other ways you can customize your game. So here's what I would like you guys to do. Have fun, get creative with it. Change your enemies, maybe change the way they look, and definitely change their stats. You can change your weapon stats, change the player stats. Don't forget you can do that too, right? Just be careful. If you're not sure what it does, you might not want to change it, right? Because if it breaks the game, that's going to be sad. So be careful when you're changing things. But yeah, you can customize the weapons, customize the enemies, customize the player, and then catch me in the next video and we'll talk about other ways to edit your game. If you learned something new today, please click that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And don't forget to let your friends and family know about this channel so they can build fun games too. All right, I'll see you guys later.